Boo! Happy Thanksgiving! Welcome back to my annual tradition. For those who don't know, every Thanksgiving I do a Q&A session, a thankful Q&A. And speaking of being thankful, look at that! 3,000 subscribers. Thanks for subscribing, by the way, and if you haven't, actually I'll just say at the end of the video, it'll be more appropriate. So for those who don't know, every November to Thanksgiving, you ask, I answer while I speak from the heart. No script. And speaking of more people watching my videos, there's definitely going to be more questions asked. Even if some of them were asked by the same person, it's going to be the last time that I'll allow it for this year. Next year, one person, one question. There are some questions that I will answer at the same time so that I won't have to waste too much time answering one at a time while giving out the same answer. Oh, by the way, if your question is unanswered on this video, then it's probably already answered on a previous Q&A video, or if the question wasn't worded correctly. With the formalities out of the way, bring out the first question.
What is your favorite underrated fighting game?
Bushido Blade. I've already talked about it on my previous Q&A video. I've also talked about Fighting Lair and how it's the most underrated fighting game ever. And now I'm gonna bring up another underrated fighting game series, which you wouldn't expect me of all people would talk about it. Custom Robo. Yep, it's another one of those abandoned Nintendo series. It was a short-lived series that only came out in Japan for most of the games. Only 2 of them made it overseas. Battle Revolution being the most well-known, although I played that game the least. I only played it once through Parsec Arcade years ago. I'm more familiar with the N64 titles and the DS game. As the name implies, you customize your robos how you want it to be. You select the gun, bomb, and pods, and then you duke it out with another one. It's really hard to describe it, but it's quite simple. It does get intense, but it's pretty fun. Like I said, the original 3 games were only released in Japan. Custom Robo 1 at least has a full translation. I recommend you give this series a shot.
Worst fighting game you ever played?
You know, there's plenty of bad fighting games I've played, but I still think the worst fighting game I've played is between War Gods and Versus. War Gods is Mortal Kombat but worse. It came out pretty early to test out how Mortal Kombat would look or feel in 3D. It didn't deliver. Mortal Kombat 4 was an improvement over this shit. It's just a jankier 3D version of Mortal Kombat 3. Plus, only one fatality on each character. And they're not that impressive. Versus was the second fighting game I've played in my life, after Tekken 2. It's Fighter's Impact but worse. This is yet another game that I covered on a previous video. I spoke my piece about it.
Do you plan on doing playthroughs of some lesser known fighting games with every playable character in them?
I will, but not now. It's still quite too early for me to branch out that much. My Tekken playthroughs are not as popular as my Soul Calibur ones. It's on the same boat as my Dead or Alive playthroughs. I do have plans on doing another Soul Calibur campaign playthrough in the near future.
What are your hot takes on each fighting game you've played so far, and why?
Hot takes. Soul Calibur 6 Nightmare isn't that busted. Fight against Inferno and you'll find out why.
Whoa, what?
Necrit's a pretty good character, he's underrated. Yoshimitsu deserved to be a good character in Tekken.
Seriously, man, what the fuck are you talking about?
Soul Calibur 7 doesn't need to happen soon. Let Bandai Namco get their act together first, and then we get Soul Calibur 7.
Do you own any physical or digital copies of any Soul Calibur soundtracks?
I don't think I own any physical soundtrack of any game. I think only one, and that was Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, and that's it. But I do have digital soundtracks of other games. As for Soul Calibur, well... Oh no, they must have found out.
Do you think that Bandai Namco should make more Namco character costumes or skins references in the next Soul Calibur game?
Oh yes, god yes, we need to bring back those references. I mean, I miss having Key as Sophitia. I especially miss having Valkyrie as Cassandra. If I could get those outfits properly, without piecemealing it through customization, I would be a happy man. Do the same with Tekken as well. As a matter of fact, why the fuck is Soul Calibur not existent in the Tekken games? Not even Soul Calibur outfits for Tekken 8.
If you could play only one fighting game for the rest of your life, what would it be?
One fighting game for the rest of my life? Well, there's Soul Calibur 3 with all the content. And then there's Bushido Blade, but who am I going to play Bushido Blade with? Definitely not War Gods. Oh god, definitely not War Gods. Soul Calibur 3. With the amount of content and variety, why not?
What got you into fighting games? What are your preferred series if you have any? And finally, what would you do to fix some fighting games that may have fallen off in certain titles?
What got me into fighting games? Demo discs. I'm more into 3D fighters than 2D fighters because lately I've been fatigued on 2D fighters. Every time a new fighting game comes out, it's always a 2D fighter or a 2D.5 fighter. And I always think, no! Please let there be a 3D fighting game. Tekken can't be the only one that's standing. Thank God they're making a new Virtua Fighter because Tekken 8 definitely needs competition. As a matter of fact, let's also bring back Bloody War, Bushido Blade, maybe Battle Arena Toshinden. And what would I do to fix some fighting games that have fallen off on certain titles? Oh, that's an easy one. Get rid of the monetization bullshit, like the in-game currency and the battle passes. Like I said, that only belongs in free-to-play games, not full-price games, especially when they're expensive and half-baked. And you wonder why I only bother with old fighting games. New game bad, old game good.
Who would you consider your main fighter in the fighting games you mainly play?
Usually in fighting games, I always go for the Ken variant. In Street Fighter, you say Ryu, I say Ken. Mortal Kombat, you say Scorpion, I say Sub-Zero. Although in Soul Calibur, you say Mitsurugi, I say Nightmare. The reason why I always picked version B of the Shotos is because, I don't know, they just seem more cooler and hits more rather than one hit.
What do you think about Chronicles of the Sword, and should it come back in a future Soul Calibur installment?
Chronicles of the Sword? I don't like it. I love it. I do love the strategy game aspect of it. I love how it's a combination of real-time strategy and Soul Calibur at the same time. Picking over strongholds, dealing with the crazy effects, whether if it's benefiting you or the opponent. I also kind of like the story a bit. You're working for an army that turns out to be corrupt, and now you're rebelling against that corrupt army. It's simple, but it's quite effective. And should it come back to the next Soul Calibur game? I don't know. Not really. Soul Calibur always has a new type of campaign, so let's stick to that. If I want it exactly like that, then I might as well play Soul Calibur 3 instead. Same goes with Weapon Master. If I want Weapon Master, then I could just play Soul Calibur 2 instead. But why not do like a mixture of some campaigns, like Libra Soul did, on how they combined Chronicles of the Sword, where you're the main character, and Soul Calibur 2 Weapon Master mode with the adventure aspect of it.
Why is your OC a red ninja with a scythe? Is there a reason behind it?
I did give him other weapons. Originally, he was a monk, but the nunchucks didn't fit him. Instead of that, I gave him the wave swords. Yeah, it looks pretty dope, but it's too bad the wave swords leave much to be desired. And then I thought, wait a minute, since I main Saucer Man in Soul Calibur 3, why am I not giving him the scythe in the first place? And lo and behold, it fits him like a glove. So yeah, it's kind of a Goldilocks situation. Too unorthodox, too crappy, and this, just right. And now you know why Chasred's using a scythe. Except Soul Calibur 5, where it's Chasred Jr. using Devil Jin's moveset, because Sassamel isn't in that game for whatever reason.
Of all the Soul Calibur guest characters across all the games, which one is your favorite?
Oh Nelly, that's a tough one because unfortunately a lot of the guest characters aren't as good as the main cast. Link, despite being the best out of the 3 guest characters personally for me, still isn't as good as Cassandra and Sophitia. Honestly, it's very hard for me to decide which is the best guest character. Oh wait a minute, if I said he's the best out of the 3, then, well, I accidentally answered your question directly. I do admire that all of his weapons are based on the weapons in the Legend of Zelda games. And I'm not even a hardcore Zelda fan.
Have you played the Wii game Soul Calibur Legends? Is it any good?
Yes, I've played Soul Calibur Legends, and God no! No, it's horrible! It's the only Soul Calibur game that I hate! It's bad enough the game wants you to play the game with a Wiimote and nunchuck. Imagine dealing with janky controls, trying to attack the right target, dealing with the shit for brains camera, And don't even get me started on that little bastard Iska Farkas, that little fuck. I have already done a lengthy video very early before even my playthrough days on my previous channel. I spoke my piece about that game in great length, and I don't want to talk about it again. Let alone, I don't want to play that game ever again.
Besides games, what other stuff do you like?
Besides gaming, I'm a foodie. I like watching food videos, not those crappy TikTok chefs or those YouTube shorts where they just dump everything without telling you what the ingredients are. I do watch a bunch of cooking videos from time to time. Many of them I learned from. I don't buy the pre-shredded cheese anymore because it has an anti-caking agent which reduces the melting. Even though I do like to cook some stuff, I don't have a professional palate. For one, I hate onions. I don't like the taste, I don't like the texture of it, especially raw onions. It's one of those, if it lands in my mouth, I gag and I immediately spit out. I know onions add the flavor or the texture or whatever, but I just don't like the taste of them. I am tired of being shamed for not liking onions. I can't put it in my mouth for the life of me. I also like to collect Pokemon cards, but not physically anymore because I can't. Goddamn scalpers. I even collect the booster packs that I opened. Now I just play Pokemon Trading Card Game Live as an extended collection.
What got you interested in making YouTube videos in the first place?
I'm gonna blow your mind on this one. I've been on YouTube for 20 years. No, seriously, I've been a YouTuber since 2005. When it first came out, I was 12 years old, and what got me into YouTube in the first place, I discovered it through DeviantArt. I did use DeviantArt for a short while, but that's another story for another day. I don't remember the first video that I've ever seen, nor do I remember where I found YouTube through an empt post somewhere on the internet. But once I got into YouTube, I thought, hey, I can do YouTube videos myself. Oh, which leads to the next question.
What advice would you give somebody who wants to do YouTube videos? What made you keep going with YouTube? Who are your favorite YouTubers?
My first and immediate advice is to not beg people for money to start a YouTube channel. Anyone can make a YouTube channel for free. OBS is free, DaVinci Resolve is free, Audacity is free. There's a lot of free programs you could use to utilize it. Look at YouTube tutorials on how to get better at video editing and recording. Utilize those free programs as much as you can. And I have another advice to give. Do not argue with comments, especially if the commenters are right. Why do you think I keep asking do you agree or otherwise at the end of my videos? It's because there's always a good amount of people that will just prove me wrong, and I would just correct that mistake in the next video. Some of these content creators are so self-important that they rather make a case for themselves rather than humble up and accept criticism. If you argue with commenters, then you're gonna end up being no better than them. Don't take comments personally. Even on the harsher comments, like, I've had a few harsh comments on some of my playthrough videos, but I don't take it personally. Like, those comments also inspire me to get better. Alright, I'm not good at Mitsurugi? Alright, I'll try to do better next time. Instead of, no, you stink, I like to see you try. What got me back to making YouTube videos instead of streaming nowadays are a couple of bigger or even lesser known channels. One of them being Kongdu back when he used to do Twisted Metal videos. Now he does videos of bad games. Another channel that I'm a fan of is The Professional. Not only he does playthroughs, he also cosplays as certain characters from the game through his face cam. And I like how he gives out greater detail on what's going on with the game, with a bit of history lessons. Smaller channels like these push me to do weapon tier list videos in the first place. Smaller channels are like local stores and restaurants. Support them as much as you can.
What do you think about Soul Calibur's story in general?
Honestly, I think the story is like a mixed bag in general. Like, some of the games have decent story, while some of them are just forgettable, like, oh, I forgot it had a story. And then some I would rather not talk about. The Soul Calibur games with the better stories are either 3 and 6. The weakest, 5 and Legends.
Do you have any other OC that you created in Soul Calibur?
Yeah, I got a few more other than Chasred, although most of them are from Soul Calibur 3 to Broken Destiny. Here's Narshila with a musical note. She's just a green crocodile lady. Yank, the samurai, Total Weeb, Madrine the rogue, one of Chasred's acquaintances, Zoik, the douchey but not evil knight who uses the lance, Panya, you could call her the arch nemesis of some of the others that I listed, Drossblack, he's an evil clone of Chasred, but some klutz of a scientist mixed Chasred's DNA with Blackberry Dr. Pepper, and this was the result. Oh yeah, Cursey Lurcy. Oh, I remember, back when I used to stream Broken Destiny. And a handful of more who are based off of Final Fantasy Tactics units. Yeah, a lot of my characters were named after the units from the Final Fantasy Tactics games, especially Tactics Advance and A2.
What things do you think will happen in a hypothetical Soul Calibur 7 plot-wise? Or what things do you want to happen in the story?
Soul Calibur 7 story, I ain't the best storyteller, but I might as well give like a general idea. Since Soul Calibur 6 is a reboot of Soul Calibur 1, might as well continue it off from there and have Raphael as either the protagonist or have a brand new character that fights against Raphael at one point. The new character will be looking for Soul Edge to destroy it. I would also do it like how Mortal Kombat 9 handled the story where you play as certain characters in few of the fights, and then it changes over to the next one.
How did you convince Cervantes to lend you his PS3 with the Yoda DLC installed?
Well, about that,
Officer, it all started with the pirate threatening to take my soul. I had to do favors for him. So instead of taking my soul, I might as well give him a couple of more souls from a bunch of poor stats. I don't remember. I tried looking it up. I just can't remember how I got it.
Would you do a Soul Calibur 2 doing each character's worst weapons?
I think I'll pass. But I'll only make one exception. Besides, I've already done a video on all the worst weapons you could use for each character, and I did it again with rating all the weapons. That's already enough.
According to you, what could be the reason why Soul Calibur struggles to reach a wider audience?
Because it's not Tekken or Street Fighter. That's too obvious of an answer. My guess is because of Soul Calibur 5 not doing as well as the others. Not only did it replace a lot of legacy characters with, well, not so worthy successors, it also changed the gameplay a bit to try to be like Street Fighter 3rd Strike, but not really nailing it. It also doesn't help that it doesn't have much of a budget compared to Tekken, which is strange because you would think that Soul Calibur would reach a wider audience than it has. I mean, you got unique looking characters, even unique looking weapons, the character creation, the guest characters, but then there had to be one little oopsie.
Which Soul Calibur had the most and or best customization options for created characters?
I still think Soul Calibur 6 has the best customization out of all of them. Not only is it an improvement over Soul Calibur 5's, 1, better roster, and 2, there are hardly any restrictions besides Inferno and Lizardman. And on top of that, you can share your custom characters through the online tab. I always go through that tab and look through all the custom characters people have made. Yes, I know it's not perfect, especially with the Ninja Hood not pairing with the Thief Mask yet again, but I would still rather customize everything in Soul Calibur 6 over the previous games. Although, I do enjoy making more cosplay outfits for the base roster more than making original characters.
Have you ever thought about making a combo video for Soul Calibur 3?
Now in this one, I'm not so sure because I'm not that good with combos in general. Maybe I know a combo thing or two in Soul Calibur 6, but 3, I'm not an expert on like combos and attacks and all their stuff. A lot of simple basic attacks are more effective than combos. But I know a few amount of people on my Discord server knows about the gameplay more than I do, especially on how to handle the AI.
What is the best Soul Calibur soundtrack?
Best Soul Calibur soundtrack? That's easy. Con Super Session for Soul Blade. Instead of being a remix of the original soundtrack, it's definitely different, but it fits the game perfectly. That intro and the music is perfect. Dare I say it's the best fighting game intro ever. Even when I'm playing it on my own, I prefer it over the original soundtrack.
Who should be the guest character for the next Soul Calibur game?
On the top of my head, possibly Ryu Hayabusa, the Ninja Gaiden iteration. He could be in either Soul Calibur or Tekken, depending on which version. If he makes it to Tekken, then it would definitely be his Dead or Alive version. He can handle his dragon sword well just as much as hand-to-hand combat. And who wouldn't want to see him do an Izuna drop on someone in Soul Calibur or even Tekken? Now why Ryu Hayabusa of all people? Because there hasn't been a lot of interesting new video game characters lately that would fit Soul Calibur. One on a certain system, but that would be like Soul Calibur 2 all over again. Who's gonna be in this version? Who's gonna be in that version? Is it gonna be Stellar Blades Eve in the PlayStation version? Team Fortress 2 Demo Man in a PC version? Also new game bad, old game good.
If you could date the characters you made in your favorite fighting games, would you do it?
Let's see. No, because I don't swing that way.
I'm straight.
Dead or Alive Hitomi? Yes. Smash her, date her, marry her, whichever. Yet again, another shout out to one of my previous videos, Smash or Pass Dead or Alive Edition.
Are you gonna make videos about these?
Yes, I do plan on doing these videos later. I especially want to try out Super Dragon Ball Z. It's one of those games that I wanted to play but constantly keep missing out on. And look at that, those are all my answers for this year. Again, if your question wasn't answered, then it was probably either answered from a previous Q&A or it wasn't worded properly. Thanks for watching the video and subscribing to this channel, all 3,000 of you. And what do I have coming up next? Alright, it's nothing so far. I've been out of ideas lately. Although there are some back burner ideas for the time being. I also want to step back from playthroughs unless if it's Soul Calibur. Until then, I'll see you next November with another Q&A session. And now this is where I say, hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more of my stuff, subscribe and hit the bell. Okay, thanks, bye.